What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Scholar Social. I am Jonah Ruffin.
I'm Jayla Jackson.
I'm Daya Brown.
I'm Sinai Edwards.
And I'm Zayla Bryant.
How are y'all doing today?
Really good. How are you?
I feel great.
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. The devil has been testing me this week, but we're here.
We're here today.
We're here.
So
We are here.
And not gonna lie, y'all, this week has been difficult, like Jonah said. So I was wondering if we can, talk about insecurities and social standards. That's very special to me because as a teen, especially in high school, child, it's very easy to compare yourself to other people,
right?
And to make yourself look into yourself and see what's wrong with you, if there's anything wrong with you, because everybody's special in their own way,
right?
So, what do you really want to get into? You want to get into what insecurities are?
Yeah.
Like, what are we really dissecting?
I want to break down insecurities and then find a solvency into how maybe we're not going to be able to get rid of our insecurities because we're always going to be critical of ourselves, but ways to build confidence, ways to be happy and accept our insecurities.
And I think a great way we can go into that is describing our insecurities and providing solvency within that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I definitely, but even before we do that, I think that we should dissect the terms,
Yeah.
because I think that the insecurity, boom, but we need to go a little bit back and start with the first word, social standards. I think that social standards in today's society is something that's so it's so boom out there. It's you need to look like this, you need to be like this, you need to do this, that, and that, and that really takes a toll on people's mental health and overall just acceptance of themselves.
I do get that, and it's you get pressure to conform to a society. But what's so interesting about America right now is that those standards are changing. And they're constantly changing.
Right.
And it's what standard is it that I'm trying to conform to? Because there's somebody I'm still trying to impress with these standards. I don't know what the standards are, but somehow I'm still not fitting the criteria.
It's overwhelming because Jonah said this earlier.
Right.
We have so many rules, so many standards. But let's get into what insecurities are.
Right.
How do you define insecurities, Sinai?
I think insecurity is something that you would internalize an internalized problem, an internalized war within yourself, based off of something that you don't like about yourself or something that you think other people won't like about you. And it might not even be anything that other people notice, but it's just something that you see.
Right.
I know Daya, Zayla, and we have an interest in sociology, and you learn how much society's check or stamp influences people's actions. Yeah. Personally, I have always seen insecurities occur when I feel in some way, form, or fashion somebody receives a consequence for being different. Yeah. Whether that's through bullying, whether that's through self-image, there's some type of negative reinforcement that makes you feel that way about yourself. Which I feel insecurities and social standards are directly connected to each other because typically that consequence is coming from society.
Right. And you want to go, Zayla? Okay. Well, how I define insecurities, I think insecurities, like Sinai said, it's a battle between yourself and it's a self-deprecating one at that, because insecurities, they really will get you thinking that you aren't enough. You aren't valuable. You aren't the person that society wants you to be. And I think that it can become so problematic, and it for no reason. It's some insecurities that other people think are perfect, you think are disgusting, and it's crazy to see the contrast.
Right
now. Okay, y'all tell me how y'all. And I hate to say this, and I don't want to be that person.
Be that person.
Be that person.
Be that person. Go ahead.
Honestly, I have never really. There's things that I wish were different, right? But at one point, does something become an insecurity, right? I feel everybody has points of, I wish this was like this, or in an ideal world, this would be like this, but it doesn't fester and create harm for me. For example, y'all know I hate my side profile, right? But it is what it is. It's what I got, and I'm gonna work with it. I'm gonna get this money regardless, right?
I say it big, regardless how you flip it.
Right.
So vibes only.
The question now is, at what point does a desire or a want turn into an insecurity?
I think specifically for me, to Sinai's point, when she says it's an internalized war. Once what I think about myself in a negative way, I kind of think of it as like, okay, hey, I have to look in the mirror for a second, honestly. I have to say, hey, okay, this is who I am. You don't need to accept it or not. But I think the internalized war comes to a point where I'm literally degrading myself and nobody has to say it for me.
Right.
And going with
It's like more of like, okay, they don't have to point it out, but I can point it out within me before I can actually. That's when it becomes actually an insecurity.
Right.
Like it's not when somebody points it out at all. It's when I point it out within.
I definitely agree.
Oh, do you start pointing it out because other people point it out?
That's what I was gonna ask.
Not really. I think it's due to my atmosphere, honestly, and the way I want to be.
And I think that ties directly to social standards. I think that an insecurity becomes an insecurity once you once you find out something about yourself that is not society, like it's not deemed good in society. You get what I'm saying? Like for instance, if this is touchy, but honestly, like say a person feels bigger and they're like, oh well, that's an insecurity for me because in society, being bigger is deemed as less than, or you're not as pretty, so therefore it becomes an insecurity once you start to degrade yourself because you're not fitting the depiction of what a perfect person is in society.
And you know the thing about not fitting in with society, certain insecurities, like, okay, to your point, talking about how they don't need to be pointed out because I pointed out myself. You pointed it out yourself because you noticed there's a difference between you and other people.
Yeah,
right. That's what I was saying.
So I'm like, our differences are automatically deemed negative because nobody else has it.
But if everybody conformed to the same standard, the same person, we wouldn't have anything that's different, anything that's unique, anything that makes us
right. But I think that's implausible. Like nobody's gonna ever go. Nobody's gonna ever be the same. No matter how hard you try, that's never gonna work.
Right.
So it's like an unreachable goal.
Right.
And honestly, it's the hypocrisy of it all for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because when we deal, like Jonah brought up, for women or men who have insecurities about their weight because a petite shape or being, having a certain look is deemed acceptable by society. If you fat shame somebody or body shame somebody, in my eyes, I see that as a form of insecurity from your perspective.
Right.
Okay. So it's like we are becoming insecure to fit into a criteria of insecurity.
Right. And hold on. So you're getting into the topic of body shaming. Now, my definition of body shaming is a little convoluted now. So, is body shaming strictly about weight, or is it about your physical appearance in general?
I think it's about physical. Okay, I think that body shaming is catered specifically to weight. Can it have some exceptions to physical appearance and all? Yeah. Yes, but it is mainly directed towards your weight, in my opinion.
I think now I don't know.
But also, before we even get into that, Jayla, you mentioned hypocrisy, and I think that's something and I think that's something that like literally we need to talk about because it's like even in today's society, especially it changes every second. The social standard where men will literally say, "I want a skinny woman," and then they'll be like, "Oh, but I want you to have a nice titties and nice booty," and then it's like, and then once you don't have that, you're not. And then once you have that, you're not skinny enough. And then they want you to be not too aggressive. But then once you're chill, you're too chill. Like it's like
the point. It's like when is a measurement kind of quantified or in a way like, okay, I am enough for myself, not just for him or for them.
Right.
I think that's what we have to look at here.
But there are tons of women who are getting their body done and still getting shamed because that's from this insecurity. You don't love yourself.
Literally.
I personally do not view a woman getting plastic surgery or Botox or BBL as her not loving herself. I think that can be a form of self-love, but a lot of people see it as she has insecurities and she's insecure, so she's changing stuff.
And then it's so bold of men to think that they get plastic surgery for them to fit into their
makeup.
Oh, you're ugly without makeup. Okay. Like what?
I just don't want to veer too far from the central focus because you were talking about this, and I don't want us to go on tangents about things that aren't centrally related to what you're talking about.
Right.
So it relating back to the whole hypocrisy thing, you said literally yourself that these standards are stupid. You should think of yourself as blase, blase, blase. But you knowing that, why don't you do it?
Oh, wow.
Not the hot seat.
Sorry, I didn't even put you in a hot seat like that, but
Why don't I do? Explain
Yeah.
more. Why don't I do?
like you
Like,
know,
why don't you take your own advice?
You know,
Oh.
like take your own advice.
I just feel like when I don't take my own advice because I'm like, for myself, I'm a perfectionist on myself. I'm not, my room's dirty, great. Anyway, everything else is wrong, but I'm a perfectionist on myself, and I feel like if I see other people looking at other people and hyping up other people, and of course, I'm happy for that other person. Yes, you're gorgeous. Yes, you're pretty. I'm so happy, but I'm like, why can't I be that? Why can't I feel that in myself? And so for somebody who's coming from a self-deprecating nature, I don't know how to get confidence. And I've tried looking at myself as a good way, but then there's always something that comes around and it tells me, oh, it's not
And
good.
I want to dive deeper in that. Tell me a little bit about your story for a second.
If I cry, y'all.
It's okay.
Honestly, we here for you,
Before, because I know it's hard.
It is.
It is
hard.
So if you're
take your
comfortable,
time.
right, if
right.
you're comfortable, share.
If you're not, then it's
Yeah.
If you're not,
You don't have to say any names.
And
Just
before,
be
I just want to affirm you before
Yes.
we go any
Right.
further, right?
came so
It is
far.
very hard and it's very uncomfortable to share your story because yes, this is us conversation, but people will be watching,
Right.
And so I understand the hesitation, and I just want to say that everybody just wants to be loved. Everybody wants to feel loved.
Right.
As people in general, you want to feel handsome. You want to feel pretty.
Right.
It's just something that people want to feel. So don't ever feel for a second that, what you're saying is just so irrational or
Right.
illogical.
Yeah.
Everybody has that same feeling, right?
Was that too sweet for
No.
you? No, that would be too sweet for me. I'm like, girl,
Okay,
stop doing that.
No, I'm not
doing that. You know what
She's
you're
the one
doing?
that makes somebody
You know
cry.
what you're doing?
She's one for it.
Therapy.
I didn't even get into
Right.
saying my story for you. Okay.
She's
Well, okay. So, I'm not even going to, timeline, but growing up, I've always been, very thin. Everybody, my family would be like, oh my gosh, you're so tiny. Oh my God, da-da-da-da-da. But I was always be tall, so it didn't, even out, I guess. It didn't even out. And so going into elementary school, I went to my first public school, and that was an experience in itself because I never experienced how cruel kids could be.
Right.
And I was like, you would never think that a third grader could say all this stuff about your body.
right.
That's why I can't be a parent, because let me find out some third.
My kids.
Let my
Right.
kid come
Let me
home.
go. Let my kids come out.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I just had to
I'll
say
be
that.
up at that school.
Right.
But yeah, and so I first experienced it there. And obviously I'm younger for my age, so that was for my grade. Wow, I'm younger for my grade, so that was something new. And I came home crying, and I came home, but then I'll always be friends with that person the next day because Oh wow, I never really realized that validation is something that I really. And I hate to say this, and I hate to admit it. Yeah, I
No,
see
it's
and
okay.
It's real.
it's like I
Accept
need
it.
it, and
Right.
I fuel with validation, and it makes me want to drive harder, and it makes me feel more confident in myself. But besides that point, then just as I'm growing, I just realized that I wasn't really evening out as I wanted to, and then as I started to even out. And I got more insecure about my legs, and the height I became, and how I was taller than almost all the boys. And all the boys, oh, I don't like you, you're tall, I don't date a giant, I don't like a giraffe, I don't like a pogo stick. Literally, somebody called me that in the movies.
Would literally kill for your height. Bye. If you're mad, you're short. Just say that. Literally,
Said that. And then I started to. Oh, this is my biggest insecurity. Wow. I started to develop a little pudge. And personally, I don't think that's any wrong with anybody else but me. Because at that point, I would hear, oh, Sanaa, you're so skinny. How do you have that little pudge? Oh my gosh, Sanaa, da-da-da-da-da. Sanaa, you should probably suck in to take that picture with the crop top. Da-da-da-da-da. And I'm here so now every time I hear...
No violence. Scratch that from the record.
No.
No, actually,
It's a
violence.
joke.
No, I'm joking.
No. Gandhi over here,
In
guys.
moderation. In moderation.
Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up. Okay, but no, hearing like all this stuff, and it just makes me think about it. So now I don't know if y'all probably realize, because y'all, I say it all the time, like, oh my gosh, how does my stomach look? How does my hair look? How do I look? Like I think about myself all the time, and not only physically but also intellectually. I've never felt intellectually inferior until I got into high school.
I think what we have to recognize here, because I think each and every one of us have experienced some form of some insecurity that has hit us right at the door of high school, number one. Number two, I wanted to talk about the validation that you brought up. Each and every one of us at this table wants and desire validation.
Can I add something there?
You can add something there.
Right? And, we've talked about this before, right?
Yeah.
It is not, something new that humans seek validation, right? Mm-hmm. But the issue lies when it comes to insecurity is that where you are seeking the validation from.
Exactly.
Right. Who you are seeking the validation from.
Now you know.
Hold on. Let me finish. Let me finish, right? I have dealt with insecurity. I don't know. Because me as a person, I'm very much, you get what you get, and
right.
Don't fit your fit.
Look, I was smart when I was chunky. I got skinnier. I'm still smart. If I blew back up, blew back down, blueberry, Twix, like, I'm gonna be smart regardless. Yeah, and so that's just always been my perspective. But I am so sure in saying this, it is because who I seek that validation from allows me to be like that, right? So now you have people that love you, right? Everybody at this table loves you. You have a support system of people who would ride or die for you, based off of that, no matter pudge or not, right? So I don't want to put you. This is not a therapy session, but I think for listeners in general who deal with insecurities, who deal with a lack of self-esteem, self-esteem. It is not rare that people seek validation, but I think as people we take for granted those sources who are constantly telling you are beautiful, you are loved, you are appreciated,
you smart, you kind, and you important. Listen, but that was leading to my next question: who do you desire to seek validation from?
Yeah, that's my problem. And that when Jayla brought that up, it's crazy. She knows me so well. It's scary. Anyway, that was irrelevant. Please cut that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. To answer your question, I feel like I seek validation from people, not just social standards on social media, but people in my school, people in my areas, my friends, and of course I have friends like y'all who don't really care about how I look. Well, I mean, y'all gonna tell me if I look a mess or not. But y'all don't really care about my insecurity. Right. Y'all will hype me up no matter what. But there's some people out there who don't really do that, or who will hate, why are you wearing this? Why are you da-da-da-da-da? And
at the end of the day, guess what? You are your own individual.
Right. And I think that brings up a great point, because you just said people in your school, people in your environment. And I think that who you surround yourself with is a direct correlation to your energy, your aura, how you feel about yourself. Because Sanai, you've talked to us, and I think that sometimes your surroundings and who you let talk to you in your ear and project these standards of what you should be can be toxic. And I think that sometimes they have these irrational standards for a 9th grader, and it's like, how can you literally sit up here and say that she needs to have a skinny waist, a big booty, nice everything, and she's
at the age of 14,
right? And she's not even developed yet.
Child, age of 14, I couldn't color in the line.
Right?
But the thing is,
like, what? Who's worried about that?
Right, but like literally, I've seen you in both on the intelligence spectrum. I've seen you hype around certain people with your intelligence because of the energy around you, and I've seen you become like shrunken because of the pressures around you.
Listen,
and it's literally because of the people, the predicament, the people, and the circumstance which is happening.
Right.
And it's like, if this is a hype session, literally right now we vibing. I bet you feel good right now. I bet you feel good.
Because I want to repeat exactly.
We may be talking about insecurities, but you feel good right now.
We had this conversation before, but I think it's very important for a lot of people to hear this. I think we let other people's, envy or their jealousy kind of break us. And I don't want that to break you into pieces where you become lost, or your sanity is not good, or your intelligence is being questioned, your beauty is being questioned, because that is not the case. I think you have to honestly, for affirmation purposes and for, you know, to gain that confidence, you have to look in the mirror every day. You got to say, hey, I'm Sanai, this is me, accept me for who I am, I accept me, and you got it, you feel me?
Right.
Because those little things will lead you to great success in terms of your confidence.
And go ahead, Jonah.
Okay, I'm gonna pass to you next, okay? But that's a really great point. And I also want to bring up something that I think I see a lot, and especially like in today's society. But people will literally like start with, say for instance, like they're trying to get a hairstyle. Oh, my head is big, but I'm going to try this hairstyle. Like, you're already pointing out an insecurity that nobody has even seen. Like, why self-deprecate from the face front, and nobody's even thinking about that? Like, you make your insecurities apparent when nobody's even thinking about that. And I see that in today's society so much. You're like, oh, I'm too big to wear this. Like, nobody's even thinking about your weight until you, like,
people
say
try
that.
to,
right.
I feel like a lot, and, you know, my dad talks about it. I know what I like and what I don't like. But I feel like a lot of times people try to say it before other people say it.
Right.
So it's like, the
takes
impact is less. It takes the thing out.
Nobody's even thinking about that.
No, you brought up a whole nother factor nobody was considering.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But I feel like that's when, and spaces where you display it. Now, if you generally like, I don't like this, I'm not posting this picture, I feel like there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if it's literally something you don't like it, you don't like it. But I feel like, you know, when you're in spaces and you're portraying, like, if your caption is like, my head is big, but here y'all go. Like,
right. Like, that's not really cute to me.
But tonight, and then I'm going to pass it to you because I know you're the next. And I just got to get this out.
Go ahead.
Right. And I really want to emphasize this because I feel like people really take advantage and take for granted of people who are in their space who are constantly affirming them, right? When you hear your parents or your mom say something like, no, you're beautiful, right? Yeah. I think our minds are like, oh, you're my mom, you're supposed to say that.
Right.
Which I don't think many people realize that that's not, you know, in an ideal world, yes, but everybody doesn't get that.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
You know, my mom's mom died when she was 12. Wow. You know, who was there to tell her that she was beautiful? She didn't have that opportunity. So we take for granted the people who are constantly there affirming us, and we seek the validation from people who could give a flying flip about us.
And I think also
from people who have literally the smallest impact in our lives.
Right.
For people like our parents, people like our friends who have been here for day one. We listen and we're like, oh no, but I'm this, but I'm that, but I'm that. And we take for granted what they say all the time. And if you accept the validation that you have probably been receiving your whole life from people who actually matter, watch your life is going to change.
Right.
Watch your self-esteem is going to rise.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Go ahead.
I mean, honestly, I was just gonna really hark on that point. Basically, just really sit down, and this is really when discernment kind of kicks in.
Yes.
You have to really sit down and evaluate who is in your circles and who is messing with your energy. Who is really who's make you feel good about yourself, who make you feel like booty.
Right.
Who make you feel like boo. Like yeah. And then once you do that, like even with the parent situation, I understand some people don't get that. And I understand some people do. But at the end of the day, there's a family that you were born with, and there's a family that you choose.
Yes.
That's a
I
word.
think that the family
Say
that
it
you
again.
choose will
That was a
really
word.
shape you. And I hope you know that every last one of these people at this table see you as family.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think
Don't
that
cry.
right.
Why is it
Yo, really? And I've been like soaking it up, like the tear.
Right.
We need a trigger warning, like grab your tissue.
Right.
Grab your tissues.
Also with that, I think people taking advantage of people who are trying to find themselves. Personally, I know I don't know. I
Whoa,
hate this.
slow down. You said what?
People
taking advantage of people who are finding themselves.
Right.
We are so young.
Literally.
Let her speak on that. We're gonna deal with that. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're gonna dissect that, baby girl. You can't get away with that. We're gonna dissect that.
Hello.
No, for real though. I want to dissect that. Come on.
Personally, I think I don't know myself yet, and I'm finding bits and pieces of parts that I do like. I want to drop that. I do something, and I'm like, oh, Sanaa, don't do that again. Or I'm like, oh, Sanaa, this really worked well for you. This group of friends worked well for you. This not. But I feel like people see all those failures that you're seeing in your life as a 14-year-old, and like, oh, this person always does this bad. Oh, this person doesn't know herself, so I can take advantage of her. I can tell her that she's bad and she's ugly and she's all this stuff, and she wouldn't care, and she'll take it, and she'll still come back to me and give me that energy that I'm not reciprocating back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait.
We need to deal with
I'm sorry.
reciprocation. It's freaking
The walking over people
But even the thing that you just said though, I don't 100% think that that's manipulation from the person's standpoint, because you're sounding it's a guy.
Whoa,
A
how
guy
though?
and girl.
It's
both. Right. I say it's manipulation.
I can see how it's manipulation if you're smart enough to know that. But I think that certain men, certain guys, or girls, or whatever the case may be, they literally do that, like because they don't know how to communicate. They don't know themselves, or they like that's how they feel good about themselves.
But I think broken people, especially those who enjoy a pity party, can pick people out. And the thing is, when we talk about situations like this, it's always set up to make people think like, oh, people out here are vicious. They out here preying on insecure girls. No, if you are insecure yourself, and the way that you get over that is by making other people feel like crap, subconsciously you pick people out like this. And it's literally, if we research the psychology of it, you can tell. You can literally tell. And it's like with trauma, like when you've experienced something and you see somebody else who's experienced, you can almost tell that person has a similar experience.
Right.
Yeah, because I want to take exactly what you said. People actually taking advantage of growing people. I think we fail to realize our age sometimes because I think our mind kind of 15. Right, like I'm 16 years old. And I feel like I'm 30. Right. And it's like, okay. It is. It feels like that because our minds are thinking like this, right? Mm-hmm. And so, you do have the mindset to say, hey, they're manipulating me. And we have to realize that we are still growing as individuals, and we are constantly evolving. To your point about judgment, failures. Right now, I'd rather you to fail than rather to win right now, because you can never learn yourself if you're just constantly winning.
Right, like, oops, you peaked in high school. Oh my God.
Right, and honestly, I think that's why.
Let's get into that after, but go ahead, Jonah.
I think that's why, like you said, you mentioned something saying like high schoolers or like children are so mean, and the reason it's that way is because we're, like you said, we're finding ourselves, and I think that it's so sad to see somebody that's going through it try to literally degrade another person. Have y'all ever like seen a person, like a friendship that has like one person's like kind of doing really good and the other person not doing so good, and they literally break down and degrade the friend that's doing good? And I'm like,
yes,
they hate on each other's success. Like what? It's like crabs in a little barrel.
Like jealousy.
When you get up,
it's like jealousy. It's like, what? That's so weird.
But that's what. Okay. This doesn't sound like.
But I think that's another topic for another
I think that's
day.
very.
Yeah, that's true. Are you saying weird as in it's strange that it's happening?
That's another topic for another day.
Jealousy is a whole different podcast.
Yeah, we're getting off track. Right? Connecting it right back to insecurities, right? And social standards, because there is a link between the two, right?
Right.
We are dealing with seeking validation from people who are doing the exact same thing. So, where's the stop? Where is the solution, especially for high schoolers? Because as Dea said, we are still figuring out. We're figuring out a lot of things at once.
Yeah.
All while trying to be, student leaders.
Go get
right. That is a heavy burden. Like our backpacks are full with more than just books. Like we are not just doing school. We are doing a million things at once.
Still trying to find yourself.
It's still trying to find yourself. So it's like
it is such a task.
Literally.
Really.
And we're taking it on.
Right, we're taking it on.
But you have no other choice but to.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you don't think it's our responsibility to know ourselves?
No, I feel like some people don't pick up the mantle.
I do think that. I do think that.
Just say that.
But at the end of, if we're talking about manipulation of individuals, right, and people that are not picking up the mantle, I'm not saying that it is that individual's fault, but what is the solution if they're not doing it? Like, you know what I'm saying? If they're not actively trying to be better or figure out who they are, but I'm thinking like inherently we do that.
How are you gonna take it? Like, you're making these steps and somebody's pushing you back.
I'm saying like if somebody's not doing the work, if somebody's not doing the work to figure out themselves, and another individual is trying to figure out themselves, but they're doing it wrong, they make mistakes like manipulation. But the manipulation you were talking about was subconscious, so I get that it's intentional, but it's not at the same time.
Right.
So like if you do end up doing that and you just keep shrinking and dwindling because you don't feel like picking up the mantle, at some point you're going to pick up that mantle.
But at the same time, I question that because we do have things like identity crisis. We do have things like people who go by the term "I'm a people pleaser" because they present in a way that gets them through life so well that is there really a necessity to figure out who I am really, right? So I don't know if we can make the assumption that at one point you're going to have to deal with it. Yes, you may become confronted with it sometimes, but we have to define what dealing with it is.
Or that one in a point in their life they showed who they truly were and got degraded for that, exactly. and they got told that wasn't okay. So then they started
that consequence.
Right,
it's sort of kind of like putting a mask on every single day.
Yeah, but that mask is tiring.
The mask is tiring, and that's why I want to ask individually. Tell me your story, specifically talking about your insecurities, because I think for us to really understand each other and for us to provide a solvency for our audience, they need to understand us a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So, Zola, go ahead and tell me.
Put me in the hot seat.
Go ahead.
Going around the circle allocation of the hot story today.
Right. Just
got your blazer on.
All right. Just so you know, you in the seat next.
Okay.
But okay, let's see my experience with insecurities. In 8th grade, I was at the height of my confusion, the height of my insecurity, the height of literally my life was like all over the place, like for real. That was a dark period. But
not the dark period.
It like literally I call it the dark ages because it is that bad. Anyways, but
she said.
Anyways, there's like everything. Anyway,
the dark ages.
Okay, so during that time period, I'm going to be quite frank because I don't really care anymore. But I was skinny, bow-legged, flat-footed, and everybody saw it. Literally. It's funny now, but they used to call me parentheses because my legs did that. My legs were parentheses.
I don't know if I should laugh or not. Yeah,
it's funny now.
Literally,
it's so hilarious because they did it over a picture.
So long ago.
But listen, it's funny now. I promise y'all, I'm okay. But
Are you really?
Don't do that. Okay.
Anyway,
let's dig into that. I'm just kidding.
But talk about it. I struggle every single day trying to fix the way that God made me.
Right.
And I was like, if it shouldn't be this hard to be myself. It should not be this hard. So there was a point I was literally tying up my legs, trying to make them straight. I was literally trying to find videos on YouTube how to put an arch in your foot magically. Like what? I didn't do that.
Listen to the sound.
But
recent search history.
It was
makes
really
legs
stupid.
straighter.
But the thing is, in 8th grade, I had a health teacher. That's embarrassing.
Are you okay, love?
So sorry.
Okay.
In 8th grade, I had a health teacher, Coach Brown. Hey, Coach Brown.
Not hey, Coach Brown, because that's my girl.
And she gave us, I don't know, it was like a mini little mental health period. And she told us this assignment: write 3 things that you like about yourself in the shape of a heart on a post-it note in the mirror. Say them to yourself. Take a picture of you doing it, and then like submit it to her. I felt dumb. I felt really stupid. I said, "What is this?" And I was like, "Okay, let me do it." Okay, I did it, and I felt a little bit better about myself. And then I was like, "Okay, that's kind of different." And so I just started thinking about different ways, and I started talking to people that I knew loved me. So I'm like, okay, let me just communicate with some people. How did they do it? And at the end of the day, I ended up figuring out, like with your friends, when they start degrading themselves, what's the thing that you do? Like always.
Hype them up.
Always, right? You need to start treating yourself like you're that friend. You
get it. Zayla with the words today.
That's like,
because at the end of the day, You are so quick to let me stop. I was about to say something weird, but you are so quick to hype up a random girl on Instagram about the way that she looks. But you're so quick to turn around in the mirror and degrade yourself.
Right.
The person, you know you, regardless of the fact that you don't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have been with you for 14 years now.
Oof, God.
Lord. Anyway. But I'm saying,
it ain't gonna get shorter.
you need to treat yourself like you are that IG girl that needs to be hyped, because that's what you do. And you deserve to praise yourself. That is the first step for me for self-love. Right. And that's how I learned. Day, let's go.
I think that me with the words today. I'm nervous.
Gosh.
Well, honestly, to keep it quite frank, I've never really suffered insecurities in terms of like, you know, the exterior things.
You're beautiful.
No.
She's a pretty girl.
I really suffered.
If you're a model, just say that.
Please. I really suffer with the interior sides of me.
Yeah.
I feel like I was always put into places where, God, there are phenomenal women, you know, phenomenal men who are accomplishing all of the things that I soon will one day become. But, you know, it's more of that identity crisis that you were talking about. When I tell you I have not cried in a very, very long time. But I remember one day, like a week ago actually, I called somebody and I just felt like I could not stop crying because I realized that I felt as if I'm not enough. Because I'm not worthy enough of being capable of everything that I desire of being. Or everything that I know I can actually make happen because boom, insecurity hits. You know, that identity crisis you were talking about hit. And so I had to take a step back. And so that's why sometimes I, you know, move away. I have to step back for a second, breathe, take some time to myself. Because sometimes I feel like a lot of people get wrapped up into the fame parts of it, that you realize, that you forget about who in the world you are and say, hey, I am that girl and I will be that girl, you know? And so I think my act on the confidence level is becoming fearless. If I know I want to be unstoppable, I'm not going to stop trying to become unstoppable.
Yes,
Woo!
You know?
These quotes.
But it's more of like this. It's more of an interior than the exterior thing for me. But the interior is the foundation of what's coming out, you know, externally. And so that's what we really do need to talk about here, because that fearlessness, it's a whole different level. Because once you know, like, you can walk in the room and nobody can stop you, that's when you know you finally have the world in your arms. In the palm of your hands, where you can say, hey, I'm the one. My name is Zaya. My name is Sanai. My name is Zayla. My name is Jonah. My name is Jayla. You know, and say, hey, I got it.
You got it.
That's all that matters. Period.
And me and you have very, very similar stories. Now, right? I had almost every reason in the world to be physically insecure. Never was, right? I was chubby, chunky. I had rabbit teeth. It was, my bottom row was jumbled. And never once for a second did I not feel. Look at you. If you go to my Snapchat and just scroll memory,
a year ago today, they be popping up.
I said you could not tell
it beat him 3 years ago for me.
4 years ago. 5.
I'm like, you could not tell me that I wasn't fine. And I really thought I was.
Right.
And there were girls who talked about me. There were, you know, situations that happened where people tried to bring me down, but I have always been a person to where I know nothing happens by accident. And that humans are systems, and systems have processes.
Ooh. Girl. Hold on.
Right?
Say that one more time.
What's up with the words?
Say that.
That humans are systems, right?
Right.
Systems have processes.
Correct.
Meaning that there is a start and a journey to whatever end result that I'm seeing now, right? So if you are talking about me, let's go back in the link chain, as you said, and figure out where this is coming from, right? Either you have something going on at home, your boyfriend thinks I'm cute.
It's always
That's none of your business, man.
True story.
not mine.
Right? There is always some ulterior source. It is never just, oh, I really just don't like her body, or I really just don't like how she presents. It is always, and I hate to say this, I mean, and it's true. Humans are naturally selfish. So it will always, in some way, form, or fashion, connect back to their own personal story. That's why I never got mad. I never did. There's nothing to fight about. There's nothing to argue about. Because I know the real reason behind what is happening. So physically, I have never, and I will never, allow somebody to make me feel less than, because it goes back to what Zayla said. I'm literally the physical manifestation of my mother and my father.
Come on.
I am a gift from God.
No,
never will I ever second guess my being. Now, internal insecurities are so real, and for people who have been told all their life that they are gifted,
Right.
that is, it can become a huge burden.
It is.
People take your potential and where they could see you, and they place it on you every second of the day. So when you have a moment of humanity where you are lazy, or you just don't want to do it, or you are
tired
in 6th grade and you're like, is this actually what I want to do? Like, I know I'm good at it, but is this what I want to do with my life? And people are like, people who love you see your potential so much that it becomes frustrating for them, and now you feel like crap because you're frustrating people that you love. That's where I develop insecurities. I'm like, I know I have gifts. I know that I'm gifted. I know that I'm intelligent. Do I have what it takes to make that mean something? Because you can have it all day. There are tons of people who have passed, or who are walking around right now, who have so much, but the world will never know. Because they are not doing what it takes to make that mean something. And I feel like everybody has it. Everybody has the willpower to make your gifts mean something. But it takes discipline, and it takes process. And if you do not have the proper surroundings, like we were talking about earlier, you and others will destroy yourself. So I have always, physically, like I said, never will I ever, never have I ever. But when it comes to my internal insecurities, my insecurities come in the form of questioning. I make sure to check myself. Like, you did this good, but it could have been better. And you will not rest, and you will not stop. And people, Jill, you drill yourself too hard. You're going too hard. You're already doing more than the average teen and all of that. And I'll never hear it. But it'll always go in one ear and out the other, because I have, and that's the thing. Insecurities do have a negative nature, right? But I feel like there can be a positive nuance there. If you allow, I'm like, I feel insecure when I am not one of the strongest in the room.
And that's when the jealousy comes.
And so, and to ensure that I don't feel that way, because I don't like how that feels, I will always be one of the strongest in the room. Use those things that happen naturally, like insecurities, to put you on top. That is always my point.
Real quick, I'm sorry, but she was talking about how she don't listen to people when they talk about, you're going too hard, you're doing too much. And the thing is, the people that be telling you that critique be the people that are in the position you don't want to be in. I'm like, why would I take advice from you? Exactly. You are the reason. You are the reason why I'm motivated.
Necessary for me to.
And that's with anybody across the scope. Literally 20-year-olds that are pushing their behinds day and night, doing whatever. A 40-year-old saying, you doing too much, you have time. No, I don't have time.
Because I don't want to be working.
I don't want to be
40. That's why.
I don't want to be you.
I don't want to be where you are.
Okay?
Right.
So, that's all I wanted to say. But
we're fighting the system here.
Yes. Let's hear your insecurities, sir.
And your story.
Whoa.
Hot seat is on you in the middle.
Hey, so.
Why he said hey like he just got
hey, so dramatic.
Honestly, I think that it's a really sensitive topic for me. I really don't. I don't know.
If you don't feel comfortable.
No, it's fine. I'm okay. But I think that nobody understands the struggle it is growing up as a gay Black man in society, especially being Black. It is such a struggle that nobody will understand unless you're Black and gay, especially in public schools where the majority of the population is Black. Let me tell y'all, it was about to get deep. I think that growing up my whole life, from people that I value the most, I have always been critiqued about the things that I am, like just who I am. For instance, literally my own father, who'll be like, "Oh, Jonah, why did you get your nails painted? Like, is that really even you, or are you being peer pressured by your girlfriends? Like, are they making you do this?" Because he just simply doesn't want to accept that that's me. And I feel like all my life, it's just always been, Jonah, is this really you? Jonah, is this you? From my peers that I have valued most, they're like, "Oh, Jonah, don't be too gay when we're going around the males, because we don't want them to like not be friends with us anymore. Oh, make sure you like do this, do that." And I've just felt like I've never ever been able to just fully emerge and immerse in who I truly am, because it's always being judged literally every second of the day. And I think that it's created so much like internal things for me. Like, for instance, y'all know I'm very aggressive. Like, I can get really like, I can like say really snappy things.
Yeah.
And it's because my whole freaking life I've had to be that way. Like, I've always had to defend myself. I've always had to defend myself. So when I hear things that people are like, "Oh, Jonah," like slick things, I automatically snap back, because it's like, I've been defensive my whole life. I've never had a break.
Right.
I've never had a break, because it's literally systematic to see the things that I have to go through because of who I am. It's just like, dang, like, and it really makes me sad, because I try to work on it so much, but it's just like internalized, because for 10 years, from literally like 2nd grade to 8th grade, it was just constant like, "Oh, Jonah, oh, you're acting too gay. Oh, are you really gay? Oh, this, that. Oh, black people just degrading my character. You're gonna go to hell. You're not good enough." Like, all of these things, because I'm just who I am. And I just think that it's really
And you're such a role model.
Yes.
I
hope you know that.
Before we even get into that, I want to take the time and affirm each and every one of y'all, because we have some strong, independent,
you suck.
individuals. Okay,
Right.
because I think a lot of people see us as front and center most of the times, but do not understand our story.
What it all comes with.
This is a very hard task.
Right.
Like you said, it's a very hard task to take on the mantle.
Right.
And we are here, the living embodiment of black, young, gifted, and black excellence. Is what we're going to talk about. Because
Simone.
Simone, the one and only, okay? But I think that's what we need to really recognize here. Everybody's story is individual. I mean, it's different. It's unique, and we have to recognize that.
Right.
And I love that.
And I want to thank
Jonah. You're such a role model, and I hope that you know that, because imagine how many people who are in your same position who really did not have time to figure out who I really am. Right? You have found a way to know who you are, and navigate through life with all the obstacles.
Right.
I could not imagine seeing the disposition of somebody who still is struggling to find themselves, and everything being thrown at them. And it is so true. People cannot catch a break. You didn't. You and still to this day, I know, and it makes me so mad, because you're a good person, and there are people out here who fundamentally, from a humane standpoint, can be deemed as not a good person.
Right.
But simply because of a way somebody presents, whether that is race, gender, sexuality, you have to endure so much more than what you should be enduring.
Right.
If that makes sense. So I want you to know that you are literally a role model, and somebody watching right now was just empowered by the words you presented, and to see you in one piece right now, advocating for yourself and for others. I'm teary-eyed. Y'all see me.
Yeah. So, and I also wanted to thank you, Jonah, and thank you to everybody at this table for sharing your insecurities and sharing your story, because not only does that help it be relatable to our viewers and to our supporters, but also helps it relatable for me, because a lot of times I think I'm the only one. I'm the only one who thinks all this stuff about myself.
That's the paradox effect of it. It feels like you're the only one, but everybody got it.
The feeling of loneliness is really scary. You feel me?
Yes.
But I think we always hear this. It's always lonely at the top, but guess what? You ain't lonely.
Right.
you're not alone.
Right.
Well, you guys. I think we came to a lot of solvencies.
Yes.
Right.
We gotta
and-
build
At the
ourselves
end of the
up.
day, y'all,
Yeah.
love yourself.
Right.
If you really love somebody, do just that.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to. Insecurities
Right.
will always be there.
Right.
Bad things will always happen. How are you
Embrace
going to
it.
use that to get you
Right.
to where you want to be in life?
Literally.
Embrace
Right.
it. Love yourself.
Literally.
Insecurities are literally, like you said, a scar.
Right.
You have overcame so many
Right.
battles, and I think that's what needs to be.
And there's
understood.
with scars, there's an opportunity for healing.
Listen.
Right.
Yes.
And
There is.
let's yes. And just to end on that note, it's just like everything we said has been so valuable. And I really hope that y'all have learned something. Our listeners have gained so much like insight.
I did.
Because I know I did. But like we always say,
Join us next week. Because one thing about us,
we gonna talk about it. All right.
Have a blessed one.
Yep.